Hello, welcome all. We will start our next session.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you explain about manipulator also in robots, sir? About manipulator?
Yes, basically, manipulator is nothing but a robotic arm like the human hand, and it will handle the task in a skillful manner. Means like we do how we can pull and can transfer the materials parts from one place to another. Like if we talk about humans, we if we want to transfer the bottle from one desk to another, we will use our hand gripper, that is our wrist with fingers that pick that bottle and place it on the another desk. That is nothing but a human hand, which is similar to the robotic arm. So robotic arm is very similar to the human hand. So it is basically used for picking up the material or parts that is used to transfer from one place to another, or to do any specific work, like for machining operation, for painting operation. So these functions depends on the different functionality, what instructions we have used, what the hand gripper, that is like the wrist in our human hand. Okay, these are all related to the manipulator.
Thank you, sir.
Any other doubts or query?
Sir, as you said, if it is a robot hand, it is called as manipulator, and if it is similar to human being, it is called as humanoid robot.
No, sir. In humanoid also, as it is a robot that look like as a human. That's why we have called it as humanoid. Which and also there is an intelligence of humans inside the robot. That's why we call it as humanoid. In humanoid, it is also a robotic arm.
Okay.
Or manipulator.
Okay. Okay. But generally, if it is a robot arm which is doing some sort of work, it is generally called as manipulator.
Manipulator, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
What is the difference between humanoid, other than the fact that it looks like a human, and a robot? Other than the fact that it looks like a human, you said there's an intelligence level in a humanoid. Is it missing in robot?
If we talk about the difference between the robots and robotic humanoid, and there will be some additional sensors that is useful, which is responsible for collecting the information from its surroundings, so that it can act according to that. And basically we call humanoid because we want to introduce the intelligence level, thinking level in robots, so that it can act according to the humans as we act according to the situation. So this is the basic difference between the robot and humanoid.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is there any doubts regarding the previous session?
No, sir. You may continue.
Okay. We have till yet we have seen the law of robotics. First law, that is talk about the not to injure human being with its action or inaction. Second law talk about the away order that is given by the human being until it will not conflict with the first law. And we have studied the third law, that is about protection of its own existence as long as it will not conflict with other laws. That means until it will not affect any human being or injure any human being. We will go further then. There are 3 H in robotics that are copied from the human being. So the 3 H of human being are copied in robotics are, that is hand, head and heart. If we talk about hand is basically nothing but a articulated arm, or we can say the robotic arm or manipulator. Head is basically the intelligence we want to involve in robotics, in robots, to ensure the efficiency, to ensure the level of work, so that they can do work like humans. Heart is basically nothing but the power supply. And if we talk about the robotics, what are the motives and what are the motivation behind this? To cope with increasing demands of dynamic and competitive market, modern manufacturing method should satisfy the following requirements. So to introduce the robotics, to introduce the automation, we have to fulfill few requirements so that it will be beneficial for us if we introduce in application, like reduced production cost. And if we talk about the in industry, if we involve any robots, any robotics in our industry, it should reduce the production cost. So it will be more efficient to the industry, increase the productivity, means it will generate more output with less input. So that will be the increased productivity, and also it will improve the product quality. And that is basically, this is all about the automation we involve in the industry. And automation can help to fulfill the above all the requirements, like reducing the production cost, improving the efficiency, improving the productivity, and also improving the product quality or service quality. And these automation can be either hard or flexible automation. And if we talk about the robotics is basically an example of flexible automation, because we can reprogram and it is multifunctional robot. And if we compare the robotic hand with the human hand, basically robot hand effector, it can lift the heavy objects, corrosive substances, hot objects, sharp or dangerous objects, and it is not good at handling complex shapes, like human can handle the complex shapes or fragile items. So we have to introduce, we have to improve the end effector, like we have the 4 fingers and 1 thumb to lift any object with a complex shape. So this can be reduced by taking these inputs into the robotic hands. And it do not have good tactile sensing like the human hand have. We can sense. So we have to introduce these sensors so that it can act intellectually in the situation, in the environment. So these are the comparison with the human hand with the robotic hands. What can robot do? Why we employ the robot in market or in any application? Because they can do the dangerous work for human, which is means for the safety purpose. We can introduce the robots, like in decontaminating robot. That is in this picture we can see the cleaning the main circulating pump in the nuclear power plant. As we can see, nuclear is dangerous to humans, so we can involve the robot for that application so that the safety of humans can be ensured. And for welding robots, and in welding also there is a gas emitted from the material which is harmful for the humans. So for that purpose we can use the robots. For repetitive jobs we can also introduce the robots so that they don't get bored or they don't get stressful, and because these works are intensive for humans, so we can reduce these disadvantages by using the robots in the field. And the scrub, and in the image we can see the ScrubMate robot that do that task that humans cannot don't want to do. ScrubMate, as we can see, if human do, we discriminate with respect to their work. So human don't want to do in present time. So we have to employ the robot for that application also. And if we talk about the types of robots, basically there are many types of robots which we can classify. And the basic types of robots are there. That is stationary robot that does not move at their place, mobile robots that can that are movables, industrial robots that are used in industries, autonomous robots, remote control robots, and virtual robots. These are few types of robots which used to classify.
Sir, may I know the use of stationary robots?
Yes.
Sir, I want to know the use of stationary robots. How it will work actually?
Stationary robots are basically that are fixed at their point. for repetitive jobs, we can use that stationary robots, as we do not want to move that robot. So we have a work at a fixed position, and this work is repetitive in nature. So we do not want to make it mobile robot. As we know, if we introduce more feature, it will be more expensive. So we, in every aspect, we need to increase the amount of investment. If our work does not want any further improvement, like in a stationary robot, they are fixed or they are permanent at their place. And if we just need a pick and place robot from one location to another location. So like conveyor belts, we have two conveyor belts of different machines, and one we have employed one robot, one stationary robot in between, so that it can pick from the conveyor belt 1 and place at conveyor belt 2. So in that case, we do not want complete robot to move. So its hand can move according to that. Its number of axes give the freedom to movement, so that it can move and pick the part or material from the conveyor belt 1 to conveyor belt 2. So this is the application of stationary robots, where can be used and why we require the stationary robots.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, excuse.
Sir, some
Sir,
examples
excuse
for
me.
autonomous robots.
Hello.
Can you explain?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. Sir, sir, can I ask?
Yes, you can ask.
Sir, as the robots are autonomous body only, na, because they are pre-programmed and they work according to our instructions. So what is the difference between the autonomous robot and the stationary mobile and all? Means all the robots are autonomous only. So why the specifically this autonomous robot is written here?
Ma'am, autonomous is basically independent. And if we make a robot independent without any operator, then it will be called as autonomous robot. So, and others are, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Sir, please continue.
We will take a look at each and every robots. First, we will know what is stationary robots. Basically, stationary robots not only used to explore areas or imitate a human being. Basically, these robots not only used to explore areas or imitate a human being. These robots perform repetitive tasks. Most of the robots perform repetitive tasks without ever moving an inch. What it means? It means the base of these robots are fixed or permanent. As we can see in the image, their bases are fixed. They cannot move, but their arm can move, like we are. If we do not move by using the leg, we can access the area, we can explore the area by using our hand without moving an inch. So we will have some area on which we can have reach, or we have access. So according to that, stationary robots are fixed at base, but can explore area by using their arm or their manipulator. So these robots, mostly robots, perform repetitive tasks without ever moving a range. So most robots are working in industry settings and are stationary. And these are few robots which are comes under the stationary robot. That is Cartesian robot, that is linear in nature. Cylindrical robot, spherical robot, Skara robot, articulated robot, or which we call manipulator, parallel robots. So these are few types of stationary robots, in which Cartesian is that in which we have all the three axes in linear, like X, Y, or Z. In cylindrical, we have two linear, one rotary. In spherical, we have one linear and two rotating and revolving. Skara robot, this is also rotating and articulated robot, that is Puma robot, that is revolving. So parallel robots is nothing but different arms are connected with a plate, means different links are connected with a single plate and can act according to that.
Sir, excuse me, sir, can I ask one question for this? That
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
sir, in stationary robot, as you see, we cannot move that machine or we cannot move that robot. So do we have any particular exact difference between stationary robots and CNC machine? what we are
Yes,
using in that?
robots and CNC, there is a difference. CNC have three axis of degree of freedom, while the robots have minimum 6 degree of freedom. CNC are rigid in nature, while the robots are reprogrammable and multifunctional. These are the basic difference between the CNC machine and the robots.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Is there any query?
So what do you mean by the degree of freedom?
Yes, ma'am. We will get into after a few minutes when we will go through the classification of robot. We will know about the degree of freedom. Basically, degree of freedom is nothing but a working area of robotic arm where it is fixed by using the different link and joints. By applying the different combination of link and joints in the maximum the robotic arm can reach. This is about
in the previous slides it was there that it has 3 axes, means the robot has the more than 3 axes, and the CNC has 3 axes. So it is something
CNC has 3 axes and robots had minimum at least 6 degree of axis, 6 degree of freedom.
So here the axis means X, Y, and Z axis?
No, ma'am. Axis means the different joints, the different combination we can apply to maximize our reach.
Okay.
Next is mobile robot. Basically, mobile robots are that robots which are able to move. Usually, they perform tasks such as searching, and these are of 2 types. That is rolling or walking. Or we can say the legged robot, or can the wheeled robot. So rolling robot have wheels to move around. They can quickly and easily search. However, they are only used in the flat area. Means if we use the rolling robot, they can be useful in the flat area where they can use the wheel to move around and quickly they can quickly and easily can search. So they are for the exploration. We can use the rolling robot on flat area. And if we talk about the walking robot, robots on leg that are usually bought in when the terrain is rocky. Means when there is not a flat area, there is terrain is rocky or the not a non-uniform surface. So most robots have at least 4 legs so that it can be more stable. Usually they have 6 or more to provide the more stability. So these are about the mobile robots. Is there any doubts in mobile robots?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the right, we can see the
Asimo.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, Asimo is also a mobile robot which has
Yes,
2 legs and 2 arms.
Yes, ma'am. Legged robot.
Okay, legged robot.
Improved legged robot.
So here we can say that Asimo has at least 4 legs because we are combining legs and arms together.
Asimo is the improved mobile robot that on which the stability has been improved on 2 legs. As we have seen in the history, there is a 1-leg robot that jumps or hop to go from one location to another. That is also a mobile robot.
Okay, so Asimo comes in which category? Walking robot with 2 legs.
Yes, ma'am. Walking robot with 2 legs with improved stability.
Okay, but here it is written that most robots have at least 4 legs, but Asimo is somewhat different.
Definition is about like giving the basic knowledge so that we can improve the things. And if we improve the thing, definition also changes.
Okay, so that means Asimo, we can say that it's a humanoid robot.
Yes,
like this, we can say the improved version.
Walking.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Next is industrial robot. Most of these robots perform repeating tasks without ever moving. Most robots are working in industry, especially dull or repeating tasks that are suitable for robots. As the humans get tired and complain about the repeating job, so robots never grow tired, or it will perform the duty day and night without ever complaining. So these are the industrial robots which performs repetitive tasks without complaining or without getting tired. Autonomous robot are self-supporting, or we can say independent robot. They run a program that give them the opportunity to decide on action to perform depending on their surroundings. So if we talk about autonomous robot, they are they are independent and self-supporting. Self-supporting, we say, we give the intelligence into it, set of programs into it, so that it can decide the action to perform depending on their surroundings. So at times these robots even learn new behavior. They start out with a short routine and adapt this routine to be more successful. So these autonomous robots basically go through the short routine. We predefine the short routine, and after repeating that routine, they are adapt to it, and after adapting, they are more successful at the task they perform. So this is the most successful routine will be repeating. Means if we want to robot a successful in a task, in a work, that so we have to provide some routine for a repetitive task so that it can improve the accuracy. Next. Is there any
Sir, in an autonomous robot, so we can say that the logical thinking is there, logically things and
yes,
take action.
We can say logical thinking, because as we can say the self-supporting robot. That means we do not need to enter any. Yes, ma'am.
So, sorry to interrupt. So, can we say this autonomous robots is an example of artificial intelligence, that they are actually learning and trying to get a better routine to do their work on their own?
We can say the artificial intelligence robot are the example of autonomous robot, but we can't say that artificial intelligence is not the only example of the autonomous robot.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any doubts? Any other doubts regarding this?
Autonomous, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
That means autonomous robot, it only follows a program and it does not need any human to control it. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We provide the short routine, short path, which it follows, and after following it, analyze the best action according to that, so that it can improve the accuracy and effectiveness.
So we can say, sir, in a programming, we have to give the condition, 2 or 3 condition we have to give, and according to the condition, the computer chooses the best condition or the shortest condition. We can say like this.
We make rules so that it can act according to that. We make rule how in what context it has to learn about the surroundings, so that it can improve the accuracy and efficiency to complete that repeating task and speed also.
And in the simple robot, we don't give 2 or 3 conditions to choose upon the various tasks, or we give only one condition in the simple robot, that you have to do this task only. But in the autonomous robot, various conditions are there, so that the computer thinks it logically which condition to just adapt for it, or which route to take.
We identify some variables so that it can act according to that variable only. Like if we employ the intelligence for regarding to identify the path, so that it can do their task in speedy or with accuracy.
Okay, that means it can automatically choose the path.
Yes, ma'am.
It is programmed in such a way. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It adapts the routine basically, which we have predefined. So it act according to that routine, that if we want to complete that task, then what are the necessary things, what are the changes we can do, means robot can do, so that it will be implemented efficiently. It will be completed efficiently. Is that clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other doubts? Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. So it's written here, robots can even learn new behavior. They start out with a short routine. It means it's somehow related to machine learning. Robots can learn from experience too.
Yes, yes, sir. Robots can learn from experience.
Okay, sir.
Shall we continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
The next one is remote control robot. As the name said, remote control, that means we can control a robot from a different location. So it requires in like we employ the robots in disasters location or in the that location that is harmful for the human being, like for the volcano exploration, planet exploration. For different kind, we can use these remote control robots. In case a robot need to perform more complicated yet undetermined task, an autonomous robot is not the right choice. Means an independent robot is not the right choice. So we have to employ the remote control robot, and the complicated tasks that are still best performed by the human being with real brain power. So we have to employ the remote control robots so they can be controlled by the operator, by the human being with the real brain power. A person can guide a robot by remote control. A person can perform difficult and usually dangerous tasks without being at the spot. Means without involving at the spot, a human can control and can give instruction and can perform the difficult or dangerous task without being at the spot. Yes, sir.
Sir, so can
Yes, sir.
UAV is a type of remote control robots, means
UAV?
unmanned aerial vehicles?
Yes, yes, sir. It can be. It can be. So this is about the remote control robot. We require to introduce on that spot where humans cannot go, or for safety purpose humans cannot be there. So humans can perform difficult tasks, can perform the task without being on the spot by remotely control the robot. So this is about the remote control robot. On the right, we can see the image that is a Dante 2, that is a remote control robot. NASA designed that robot to explore the volcano via remote. Next, virtual robots. What are the virtual robots? Basically, these robots does not exist in real life. As we can say, virtual robots is about just a program or software. So virtual robots are just programs or building block of software inside a computer. A virtual robot can simulate a real robot or just perform a repeating task. Like we have introduced the artificial intelligence in robots. That is also a virtual. We have installed a virtual robot in another robot. Basically nothing but a set of programs or building block of software that analyze and act according to that. So we have introduced the virtual robots. So as we can say, they are not exist in real life. So we cannot see them, but it can simulate a real robot or just perform a repeating task. Search engines that we use in nowadays are such kind of robots. They search the World Wide Web and send the information to the search engine. Like we have seen the search engine, we type the text and they get the all the searches related to that in a second, in a few seconds. So these are nothing but these search engines are such kind of virtual robots. Is there any doubts on virtual robots?
Sir, we make use of something called as this Alexa, Siri.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Alexa,
those
Siri,
things. Yeah. So those things. Those things are virtual robots, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank
you. Because the virtual robots is nothing but a software or set of programs.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Which we cannot see, as they do not exist in the real life. They basically used to simulate a real robot, or can be simulate a machine. Is there any other Doubts?
Yes, sir. How we can call a program as a robot, sir?
Can you repeat, sir?
How can we call a software or a program as a robot?
Means how can we call a software to a virtual robot?
Yes, sir.
Basically, our जो basic requirements that should be fulfilled by a robot, so, which are reprogrammable, multifunctional, and can simulate according to the environment. So these are our basic requirement of a robot. If the program analyze the environment and change itself according to change the working according to that, that will be our virtual robot. Like the Siri and Alexa, they will not be called as virtual robot until they learn the data or the information related to us, or because they collect the data, analyze them, and act according to that. So virtual robots should have that kind of capability.
Sir, can you please give some applications over there to understand in more better way?
Application for that, okay sir. Like and nowadays we can say the virtual assistant is nothing but a virtual robot, like Google Assistant, Siri, the Apple virtual assistant, and few more. There are many examples for that, which basically nothing but collecting the data and collecting the data, analyze the that data, and work according to that. Like when we use the Google Assistant first time, that will not understand even our voice. So we have to make understand our voice. How we talk, how we use, how will we use that services. So that the assistant will understand our language, our voice, which we want it to complete. So we will have to make it learn.
So, sir, if my understanding is correct, whether we can say chatbots and text-to-speech things are called as virtual robots.
Yes, chatbot is also a virtual robot that we can see in, mostly in every sites.
Sir, sir, can we say all integrated chips, if we are following the voice modulation or voice assisting, as well as somewhat some are there by clapping, or somewhat they are working in that way also? Can we say those are working on the base of integrated chip where we are programming?
Repeat the same.
See, sir, I am asking somewhat we are putting the various integrated chips where we are programming the thing. There by the voice modulation or somewhat various specific noises. Suppose by clapping, lights are working over there in the smart houses. Can we say those are also the virtual robots?
Means that just modulate the voices, right? So they are predefined functions. Yes, that cannot be we say the virtual robot. If we do the repeating task without making changes in it, they are just predefined programs.
So is Amazon recommendations that we get, is it virtual robots?
Yes, ma'am. That is depending on that is nothing but collecting information and acting according to that. So we can say it is a virtual robot, kind of virtual robot.
Virtual. Thank you. Thank you.
As they collect all the information what we searches, and they will provide you ads according to that. As we see, mostly we get all the ads that we want to that we were tried to search in the previous time. So they collecting the information on every website. Is there any other doubts?
No, sir. Please continue, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I have one question.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so, what's the basic difference between virtual robot and artificial intelligence?
Sir, artificial intelligence is basically a set of programs which is nothing but used to collect the information, while robots are using that artificial intelligence so that it can act according to that.
So in hierarchy, which one comes first, artificial intelligence or robots?
Hierarchy in what manner, sir?
If I did both, so artificial intelligence comes under virtual robots or robots comes under artificial intelligence?
Sir, artificial intelligence basically a small program that collects the information. And if we talk about the complexity of program, the virtual robot will be comes first. Okay. And artificial will be work under the virtual robot.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Sir, so we can say that, sir, we can say that a virtual robot is a software which is installed inside a robot. Like this, yes, we can say.
Which is installed inside a robot and can change its variable value according to the environment or collecting data and can act according to that. Means it
that
can.
Means it's a sensor also. The sensor component is also added in it.
Yes, ma'am. Sensor is also required so that it can collect that physical information or the surrounding information.
Okay, so in a simple manner, we can
additional to artificial intelligence.
Yes, so that means in a simple manner, we can understand that virtual robot is a set of programs which are installed in a robot to stimulate its working.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there any other doubts or queries?
No, sir, please continue.
No, sir, you please continue.
Okay. Sir, I have a query. Yes, this is just a doubt that you said that virtual robots come first in the hierarchy and artificial intelligence comes then. But actually virtual robots is one of the response through artificial intelligence.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So artificial intelligence is the one that controls the virtual robot also, if I'm right.
No, sir. We cannot say the artificial intelligence controls. Artificial just collect the information and give it to the robot. Robot act according to that. Artificial intelligence is just a reference to the robot.
Okay, but actually a robot is nothing but we are trying to give the intelligence of human intelligence or a working task that a human can do is being inbuilt in the machine is what we call it as robot.
Yes, sir.
So if the AI plays a role in it, then only a machine becomes a robot.
Yes, sir.
So initially it is AI, I suppose, and then when you get the responses intelligently, and then when they are programmed, that is through the machine learning, then actually a device comes which you can call it as a robot. That's what I get the sense.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Is there any other doubts?
No, sir. Please take the next slide. Next slide.
Okay, sir. Next is future of robotics. What will be the future of robotics, and how can we employ it and introduce to improve the humanity? So to demonstrate that advancement in research and stimulate scientists, a RoboCup saucer competition is held a few times every year, in which robotic car or robotic robots are used to play saucer and act as the ball is moving, and robots also are movable. So this advancement is required so that we can involve these robots with this type of intelligence in future. And to demonstrate that advancement in research and stimulate scientific data, a RoboCup saucer competition is held every time, in which different competitors involve and demonstrate their advancement. And because in this the robot should recognize the teammate, the ball and the goal where it ball to be transferred. Thus it becomes a challenge for them, and it will be a challenge for advancing the robots to identify to recognizing the teammates, to recognizing the movable ball, so that it can act speedily. So it will not be means the response will not be lagging. Otherwise, the ball will be in the in the goal area. So we have to improve these kinds of things in the robots so that we can involve these robots in futures with the human intelligence, with the power of thinking according to the situation. So it will be a challenge for them. Thus, constant advances are being made in the robotics, and robots are bound to revolutionize the humanity. ताकि ह्यूमैनिटी को रिवॉल्यूशनाइज कर सके, इम्प्रूव कर सके, जो भी उनका हेल्प ह्यूमंस का हेल्प, so they can help the humans to and improving their services and improving their there will be some advancement so that they can act according to the situation like the human do. Next, the classification of robots. Basically, we can classify the robots according to the degree of freedom. Here we will see an image in which we have discussed the linear movement and rotational movement. In which first image we can see, as we know, there is a 3 axis X, Y, and Z. We can move anything in 3 directions, linearly or rotationally. In linear, if we talk about movement of anything, so that will move along that axis, and if we talk about the rotation, that will rotate around that axis. So in first image we will see that the movement is linear in X direction. Means
sir, we are not able to see the next slide, sir. Only we are able to see the future of robotics. Yes, now we are able to see.
So in this image we will see the movement of our material or robot in a particular direction, or that movement can be linear or rotation. If it is linear, that will be move at that particular direction, particular axis, and if it is a rotation, that will around the axis. So in a combined image, we can see the first part in which there is a material, or we can say the structure of robot is there, in which we want to move it in X direction. If we making the other axis constant and only changing the X values, X coordinates, then it will be called as linear movement. As we can see, we are only changing the coordinates of X axis and keeping the constant coordinates of Y and Z axis. So it will be the linear movement. Likewise, in Y direction, if we move in the Y direction and keeping the Z and X coordinates constant, it will be called as linear movement. Likewise, in Z direction, if we keeping the X and Y coordinates constant and changing the Z coordinates along the according to our movement, so it will be called as linear movement in Z direction. So this is the linear movement in X, Y, and Z direction. If we keeping other two coordinates constant and changing only one coordinate, it will be called as linear movement. And if we talk about the rotation movement means we keeping the one axis constant and changing the other coordinates of other two axes, like rotation around X axis, in which we have material at X axis or robot at X axis. So the value of X axis must same, and the value of X and Z axis need to be changed. Means it is opposite to the linear direction. In linear, we are changing only one axis coordinates while keeping the constant other two. But in rotational, we are changing the other two and keeping one coordinates constant. So it will be called as rotational around that axis on which we are keeping it constant, that is X axis. So in first image of rotation, we can see that is rotation around X axis, in which X axis coordinates are constant, while X and Y and Z coordinates are changes according to the rotation, according to in which we want the rotation. So it will called as rotation movement around the X axis. In next image of rotation, we will see that Z and X coordinates are constant, Y coordinates are the angle of coordinates of Y axis are changes by theta y, So they will call it as rotation around the y-axis, because the y coordinates are keeping constant and z and x values are changes. So it will be called as rotation movement around the y-axis. Likewise, in rotation around the z-axis, the z-axis is keeping the base, so that will not change, and x and y value will be changing. So it will called as rotation around the z-axis. So in rotation, we can say only one axis is keeping constant, while in linear movement, we can say the one axis will be changing while the other two are keeping constant. Is there any doubts in linear movement or rotational movement around any axis?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay. Now we will know what is degree of freedom. Basically, degree of freedom is the number of independent motion a device can make. Means number of independent motion a device can make by using the number of combinations of different joints and links. Basically, in this image which we are seeing on the right side, if we talk about our hand, the upper arm and the lower arm will be called as link, while the elbow will be called as joints. So this is nothing but a link, and that yellow color is a joint which connects, which will be used as elbow, and this is our lower arm, and the behind this is a upper arm. So this joint will provide it the rotational movement to the link number 1 and link number 2. That means for every joint we need two links. One is input link, another one is output link. So this will be the output link for joint, yellow joint, and input link, that is upper arm, and lower arm will be the output link, and joint will be the elbow. Likewise, this is our like the shoulder, there is two link, that is chest and the upper arm. So the shoulder will be our the joint, that is the blue color. So this is the joint, and this base is act like a chest, and the second joint behind the behind this, so will be the output link for this ma'am. Okay. So this is the base, means input link to the our shoulder, that is blue blue color joint. Is there any doubt? Hello, is there any doubt?
No, sir, no, not any doubt.
Okay, sir. So we have provided the degree of axis, degree of freedoms. What are the degree of freedom? Like in our hand, we have shoulder for connecting chest and upper arm, and elbow for connecting the lower arm and upper arm. So it will, this joint provides the degree of freedom. How we can say degree of freedom? This shoulder provides the degree of freedom in up and down. Shoulder provides the degree of freedom in up and down, left and right. So this is called the degree of freedom. Means the number of independent motion a device can make. Like the wrist and the lower arm, we have the joint, and it provides left, right, up, down, and rotational. 3 types of degree of freedom. So basically this is nothing but a number of different independent motion a device can make. And if we talk about this device that can we see on the screen, there is a base that is in red color that can provide a degree of freedom, that is independent motion. That motion is rotate base of arm, that can rotate the base of arm. So this is nothing but a robotic arm with a base that can rotate. Rotate we have seen means one axis is constant, other two are changing. Now the next is blue. Blue color is nothing but act like our shoulder. This base is like our base. So if we move left or right, means in rotation movement, so it will rotate our base. And if we talk about the shoulder, it will provide the freedom to move our arm left and right and up and down. So this is the another degree of independent motion. And so this red color base is nothing but a rotative base that can move the arm in a rotatory part. And the blue color joint is nothing but a shoulder that is connected with chest and upper arm that is connected with the base and the another leg to provide the rotational movement, that is circular movement, angular movement. And that if we talk about the upper arm and lower arm, there will be upper arm and lower arm, there will be a joint that is we called elbow, that is yellow joint, that bend the elbow, that up and down the elbow. And on the wrist we have three independent type of freedom. On the orange we can see it move the wrist left and right. And if you talk about the green, it move the wrist up and down. And if we talk about the pink part, that is pink joint, that provide the wrist to rotate. So these are different type of 6 degree of freedom which we have talked about, that at least 6 degree of freedom should be in the machine that can be called as robot. Is there any doubt in degree of freedoms? Should I repeat?
No, sir, it's clear.
It's clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yes, as in our hand, we have different joints like shoulder, elbow, wrist. Likewise, we have different joints in robotics. Like shoulder gives freedom to move the our arm from the fixed base, that is chest. So chest and upper arm can be moved with the robot by using the degree of freedom of this joint. But what are the needs of different joints? Like we have these joints, like according to if we see the image in the slide, the robotic arm is like this. So these are different joints that provide some maximum reachable point by using the different combination of different joints. So these joints provide the degree of freedom so that we can maximize our reach by using the different combination, by using the different joint degree of freedom. So in this image we have rotating base of arm, we have base of arm that is the shoulder, that can rotate around the axis, and that is the yellow joint is that to bend the elbow, and the green part is for wrist up and down. For orange part we have wrist to left and right, and for pink part that rotates the head. And after that we have the end effector. End effector means end effector can be tool or can be gripper. This is a gripper with 2 fingers that can grab the part or material. Is there any doubt in that slide or any previous of slides? Any doubts or queries?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, actually, now from this picture, so we need to calculate the independent motions. So based on the actions, how up and down, then left, right, and then picking the item. So based on that, this is rotation, that pivot based arm. Like that, we have to calculate the number of independent motions. That will be degree of freedom.
Yes, that will be the degree of freedom.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And that comes under the independent topic, that is joints, robotic joints. That will be in the upcoming sessions.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
And in another example, we can see we have an robotic arm that is fixed in nature. Their base can spool, that means can rotate. That base it can rotate, and this shoulder is connected that can bend the shoulder up and down, and the elbow extension that bends the elbow in up and down condition. And on the last we have the wrist that provide 3 independent motion, that is yaw, that means up and down. There are 3 independent motion that is yaw, pitch and roll. Yaw is basically left and right. Pitch we say up and down, and roll is about rotating the wrist. And on wrist we use the end effector or tool for a particular operation or purpose. So these are the 6 independent type of motion that we call the degree of freedom, and we also called it as mobility. And if we talk about the degree of freedom of a rigid body, that is defined as the number of independent movement it has. The higher number of the degree of freedom, it indicates as the increased flexibility in positioning a tool. That means the number of degree of freedom, that means the independent movement that can provide the flexibility in positioning the tool or in rotating or in movement. So each degree of freedom, a joint is required. Means to add additional degree of freedom, we have to introduce an additional joint in the robot, in the robotic arm or in a machine, so that it can be have additional degree of freedom or additional flexibility in the in positioning or in working. So 3 degree of freedom located in the wrist, which gives the end effector all the flexibility. So 3 types of degree of freedom as we have seen located in the wrist, that is pitch, yaw and roll, that is left and right, wrist up and down, wrist left and down, and left and right, and rotate wrist. That means 3 types of independent motion in the wrist itself. That gives the flexibility to the all the flexibility to the end effectors. As we can see on the right side, there are different types of movement we can achieve, that is forward and backward if we provide the linear motion, upward and downward if we provide the rotary movement. So there are different kinds of freedom we can involve, but for each kind of degree of freedom we have to involve a joint. So if we compare the human wrist with the robotic arm wrist, we have only one joint in hand which gives 3 degree of axis, while the robots have 3 independent joints that gives 3 independent movements. So a total of 6 degree of freedom is needed to locate a robot hand at any point in its workspace. So at least 3 degree of freedom is required for a robot to complete a task. Is there any doubts in degree of freedom? Is there any doubts or queries?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No doubts?
No, sir.
In the robotic arm, we know the 6 major degree of freedom of robotic arm, that is transverse base, which can move the upper arm up and down, and rotational transverse that can rotate left and right, radial transverse that is linear in nature that can provide the extension to the robotic arm, and the wrist with 3 degree of freedom, that is roll, yaw and pitch, yani left and right, up and down and roll, rotating. So these are basic major 6 major degree of freedom in a robotic arm. So these 3 degree of freedom, that is expect the outside the robotic arm, that is outside the wrist. These are rotational transverse. As we can see, rotational transverse Rotational transverse is the movement of arm, that is arm assembly about the rotary axis, rotary axis that provides left and right, such as left and right swell of a robot's arm about a base. Base के left or right होने में it helps. So it is a degree of freedom that helps us to move left and right, to help the robot's arm that moves around the base left and right. The radial transverse, that is the extension or retraction. Extension means moving away from the base, and retraction means coming toward the base. Is the linear movement in a base of the arm, and that can in and out motion relative to the base. The vertical transverse that allow us to move up and down, that is rotational movement, provides up and down motion of an arm of a robotic system. So these are the transverse, the rotational, radial and vertical, which we can use. So we can use different kinds of joints also. Like we have used the 2 rotational, 1 linear, we can use all the rotational, so that we can get the like in this one. So we can introduce different kind of joints to get all the possible flexibility we require for completing a task. Is there any doubts regarding the axis or degree of freedom?
Sir, in that case, robots has only 6 axes of rotation.
At least 6 degree of axis freedom.
Minimum.
Yes, minimum 6 degree of freedom.
Okay. So it can be up to the requirement of what we are designing.
If we have 6 degree of robot, and the workbench on which the work is kept, and the robot will work upon that bench. If we provide 1 axis on that bench, then it will become 7th axis or 7 degree of freedom.
Okay, so it can keep increasing depending on the requirement.
Yes, sir. Depending on the requirements, we can employ additional degree of freedom.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. And there are some robot specifications by which we can classify the robots. We can select the robot. So in addition to the classification, there are several additional characteristics, like number of axes, means how many axes are in the robots. If we want to purchase or if we want to include it in our industry or house, we want to analyze the number of axes it has, so that we will use it according to our usage. We will purchase or we can have the robot according to our usage. If we know the some specification of robots, that is number of axes, load carrying capacity, means the robotic hand can carry this much of load. So we will get all the characteristic of that robotic arm. And the maximum speed means the area it can travel in this time. So this will be the give the definition of speed of the robotic arm. Reach and stroke means कितने distance तक की इसकी reach है. If we apply all the combinations, it will reach at this location. It means it can extend its gripper or end effector to that much of distance by applying all the combinations of joints. Tool orientation, if we have connected the tool on end effector or gripper, it can orient the tool according to the use. If we have a object here and we want to pick that object, we cannot pick it like this. So we have to orient our tool so that it can orient according to the object and can pick that object. And we have to discover, we have to know about the precision, accuracy, repeatability of the movement. Means if we talk about the precision and accuracy, means if we providing the detail of doing that thing in repeating in nature, that means we have to see the precision of this. like it is doing repetitive tasks again and again, what will be its precision? If it will not changes the program, it will not changes the its calibration. So we need to calibrate. So we have to know how much precision is there. It will because if the precision or accuracy will not be there, it can leave the part. It can leave the part as it has not picked the part from the correct position. So we have to identify the precision and accuracy and the repeatability of movement. If we provide the same distance again and again, what will be the accuracy and precision on that repeatability of movement? And what are the operating environments? Means if we are using any machine like refrigerator, means if for employing any machine, we have to identify the operating condition. Like if we employ the AC inside a room, so it will cool down the temperature of room, as well as by releasing its air out, hot air out, it will also changes the room temperature from cool to hot. So we have to understand the operating environment, operating condition of the machines. So these are the few specification of any robot we have to consider before introducing a robot in application. Is there any doubt in this slide?
So can you define what is axis here? Axis. The number of axis
Number of axis. Yes, ma'am. The number of axis means the number of degree of freedom. That means we have provided the number of axis. Like axis, one axis that can move around, provide flexibility. Axis is nothing but a flexibility. That is degree of freedom.
Thank you, sir.
Means 6 degree of axis. That means 6 degree of freedom we are using in the robot. So axis is nothing but a degree of freedom. Is the doubt clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you, sir.
Any other doubts? Any other doubts on tool orientation, reach and stop, maximum speed, load carrying capacity, why we require these specification? Is there any doubts or query regarding the slide?
No, sir. No, at the moment, no.
Shall we continue?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Now, the classification of robots. Basically, the classification of robots can be done on different kind of task it performs, on different kind of parameters. Now we will classify the robots based on the type of task it performs. Like point-to-point robots, we will give the points, that is point A and point B. It will move in between these points and do the work according to that points only. Like Unimate 2000 and T3, the Tomorrow tool. These are the example of point-to-point robots. On the image on the right side, we can see there is a points given on a working plate, and the robot will move on that plate and do whatever for it was designed. Means end effector will be connected with the robotic arm, and for what specific function it is used, it will act on that line, that point-to-point coordinates only. So second one is continuous path robot. That as we can see, the continuous path means we have given the coordinates of the path on which it will repeat again and again and again. So it will be means the first point will be its last point, and the process will be repeating again and again. So the examples are Puma and CRS robots. So the tool to be gripped by the end effector of the manipulator is given in the image, and it will rotate according to the work as the coordinates are given. So it will move at the continuous path. So it will move at the continuous path which are given. So this is continuous path robot and point-to-point robot. Next one
Sir,
is.
excuse me.
Ji, ma'am.
Sir, Sir, I have a query. Sir, in a point-to-point robot, that means the robot is covering the points which are specified on a machine or somewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
That means the robot is not coming back to the first point. That means here in the figure it is written that 1, 2, and 3 points are there. The robot will come to first of all second point, then to third point. That means it will never come back to the first point in point-to-point.
Like point-to-point robots are just like moving the material from one point to another. So they are picking the point on from first position and put it on the second position. The operation is finished until the second part will not come at the point number 1. While in continuous path robot,
picking. Okay, that means from A point to B point, but not from B to A.
Yeah.
That means not a reverse function.
Yes, ma'am. It will go from point V to A when the another task will be given. Means it will repeat.
That means it will stop.
Yes, ma'am. It will stop.
Yes.
The one
point to another. Yeah. That means one instruction is completed and it will wait for the another instruction to come back to the first point. You are saying that, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And in the continuous part, that means it is a looping. That means
yes, in which we have giving a end effector, a tool that continuously revolving around the plate or around the coordinates we have given, so that it can provide the machining operation. Like if we are using the filling operation to the robot, that we will provide the coordinates on which it has to cleaning the surface of the material, and so we will giving the coordinates until that that robot will continue on that part until the task is been completed. So in that task,
that means the looping process is there along with the condition when to stop.
When to stop.
Okay.
Like we have uses a job, the part on which we have to decreasing the width of the plate. So we have to cleaning the surface, then filing the surface. So it will minimize the width. So we have to give the coordinates. We have to give the instructions so that it can do the repeating job in continuous path till the task is completed.
Okay. In the cleaning process,
or we can say the yes, ma'am.
In the cleaning process, you are saying, sir, that the condition is given that if the width of that material means if it reaches to somewhat width, the lower side of the width, that means the cleaning process is complete, and then at specific width you have to stop the looping process.
Yes, ma'am. We have given the instructions and identify the coordinates. Till then it has to cleaning or it has to decrease the width of the material.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other
sir,
doubts?
Yes, example of 3D printer in this case? Sir, in few cases.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, in few cases we know the destination so that we can program easily.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a DOF. And in some cases, if it is facing some uncertainty, like we don't know till what the robot has to do the task.
Yes, ma'am.
So what will we do in that cases, sir?
We have to identify that location so that we can program our robots to act according to that coordinates only.
Okay. For example, sir, in defense applications, we don't know where the the mines are, so that we can program the thing only based on the specification of the object. Am I right, sir? We don't know the coordinates.
The robot, and we have to pick a product from a table to another table and place it on another table. So we have to identify the coordinate of table number 1 and table number 2, so that it can pick from the table number 1 and place it on the table number 2.
Okay.
So the coordinates are required to give that to complete the task.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Doubts? Any other doubts?
No, sir. Clear.
No,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, let's continue. So on the classification of robots also on the based on types of controller we have used. The non-servo type controller, which is nothing but a open loop control system. Servo controller robot, which is nothing but a closed loop control system. Open loop, in which we get the feed, we do not get the feedback. Like if we talk about example, we can say the fan in our room, we just regulate according to us. So in which feedback we are giving is by the human. So that is open loop system, and closed loop system in which the feedback is given automatically without the help of human operator. So there are two types of controllers: non-servo controller, that is based on open loop control system. Example is Seco PN100. These are less accurate and less expensive, as we have not involved the sensor for feedback. So as the feedback is not there, they are less accurate. And in servo control, closed loop control system is there. That means there is a feedback. We have involved the sensor. So that sensor provides the feedback, and controller gives the controlled input and changes that controlled input by getting the feedback from the sensor. So that's why the servo controlled robots are more accurate as compared to the non-servo controller controlled robots. So if we are involving additional circuitry, that means it will increase the cost. That's why we say it more expensive comparison to the non-servo controlled robot. And the example of servo control, that is Unimate 2000, Puma, and T3, that is the Tomorrow tool. Any doubts on this slide?
Sir, here the servo means the server, the main computer who is giving the instructions.
Basically, yes, ma'am. The controller is nothing but a system that is connected to control the robot. That can be computer, that can be PLC. PLC.
Here,
yes, ma'am.
So here the servo word come from the server or the main computer who is instructing the robots to do the task. It
no, ma'am.
Can be.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, servo means, sir, here.
Servo means non-servo controlled robots. That means we are not using the feedback. And if we talk about the servo control, that means we are using the servo closed feedback, in which we are using that feedback to give the input to the controller.
Sir, feedback, what's the work of feedback here? So I haven't understood.
Let me give an example of feedback. Like we have installed a AC in a room. We have changed the temperature to 24 and the outside temperature is 30. So what will it do? It will continuously transferring the signal. Controller means controller continuously transferring the controlled input to the AC compartment, to the fan compartment and the gas compartment, so that it can provide the cooling at 24 degrees Celsius. They will act according to that. If we do not involve the feedback in the system, so they will not know what is the temperature of outside. So they will not know the temperature of outside, so they will not change the temperature. For example, we have employed the AC, given the 24 degrees Celsius, outside temperature is 30. So they are continuously giving the controller giving the control signal for 24 degrees Celsius to the process or to the plant, so that it can act according to that and give the cooling according to the 24 degrees Celsius. If we not employing the feedback and temperature is going below the 24 degrees Celsius, so it will not change its controlled input. And if we employ the sensor that can sense the outside temperature, it will continuously compare with the controlled input. So there is feedback. It is getting the feedback from the outside that the outside temperature is 30. Okay, controlled input is 24. Okay, going on until it is when it is equal to the controlled input, like 24 on the outside, 24 on the input side. it is okay, it is comparing and saying, okay, you can continue your work. And after the temperature outside or in a room is going down to the 24. So they will act, compare, and the difference between will be the negative one, because it is comparing the actual controlled input from the sensing input, feedback input. So they are comparing till the result is in positive, it will not send the signal to the controller to change the input. And after the signal is going negative, it will send signal to the controller, and controller will change the controlled input according to that. Why? Because we have given the instructions to work on 24 degrees Celsius, and if the controller we have employed the controller so that it can control according to the use, according to the requirement, and we have involved the sensor so that it can provide the feedback, so that it can control more accurately. So when we have involved the sensor, it will provide feedback that the outside temperature is lower than the controlled input. What are you doing? So the controller, what will do? It will say to the plant or process, plant, please kindly do the changes as the outside temperature is going down. But we have the instruction for the 24 degrees Celsius. So plant will act according to the temperature to reducing the difference in the comparator. So the sensor is employed for feedback so that we can get the actual accurate output as the user defined. So this is about
it means that when we are sorry to interrupt you, sir. It means that whatever the feedback we are having, according to the feedback, the machine will work according to the feedback, and it will make it work very easier.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Like first we have identified the predefined conditions and employed the sensor with comparator, and to comparator we have told that this is our input. Kindly do not make the outside temperature up to this temperature or lower to this temperature. So the comparator will compare the output, means the controlled input, and the feedback or some part of output, that is a feedback. So it will compare and give the information to the controller, and controller will act according to that. So in this,
so sir, here,
yes ma'am.
So sir, here it means that in the non-servo control, no feedback is there, but in a servo control robots, the feedback from the external environment is taken.
Yes ma'am. Basically the servo term is servo is basically we define it. It is an automatic device that uses the error sensing negative feedback to correct the action.
Just like in the just like in the refrigerator, like in the AC is also thermostat is being worked.
Yes sir, yes sir.
Like thermostat.
Like the comparator we are using with the feedback element in the AC, this will be called as the servo controlled machine. Means error controlling instrument we are using in the, so that it can reduce.
That's why they work very accurately. That's why they are working very accurately.
Yes. And here the error is nothing but the difference between the controlled input and the output. So this is our error.
So, automated water level controller can be called as servo controlled device.
Water level control, no sir. In water, like in tank, if we use the water control to switch off the motor, and when the water comes down, it will turn on the motor. That will, we can say, the servo control, in which we are employing the sensor that can act according to the requirement. And if we are using just to inform us that the water tank is full, kindly switch off the motor, that will not be called as servo controlled motor.
That comes under non-servo controlled.
Yes sir. If it is automatically actuating, and
Okay,
using the
since you used the word in between while explaining this, you said something called as PLC, Programmable Logic Controller. So that acts like that only, right? So that is the thing that we mainly use in those type of automations, where the main switch of the motor will be on, but the motor will not run because the PLC will control the motor from running, sensing the overhead tank. Am I right?
I have used for different thing. PLC is nothing but to control. Basically, it is a different kind of controller. When we employ to different kind of robots, to different kind of machines, then we use the PLC to coordinate these type of robots for the smooth working of the task. PLC is basically a controller that
controller,
can
yes.
other.
So if we make use of that, just for an example, I'm also using it. So if we make use of a controller in between the main switch of the motor, but the motor will not run because the sensor senses that there is a water in the overhead tank.
Yes,
so this
sir.
means it is servo controlled robot.
Yes, sir. We can use the controller.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, why the open loop? What does the open loop here implies? And the closed loop implies?
Yes. Open loop means, I will explain. Let me tell. We have a block diagram.
Yes,
in which first block.
Not servo control robots. Just please explain it in brief again.
Okay, ma'am. First we will know what is open loop. Open loop is nothing but loop means that is not a closed path. Means loop is basically a closed path. And if we say open loop, that means it is not a closed path. That means loop is not connected, is not enclosed in manner. So open loop means we are giving input, we are getting output. We are not getting any information about what output we are getting. So this is called open loop. Like we are giving the input and we are getting the output. We are not comparing the output with the given input. So this will be called as open loop control system. Non-servo controlled robots uses that open loop control system. Servo means that uses the error detecting and error comparing technique, which basically identify the error in between the controlled input and the getting output. So basically servo is nothing but a error comparing system.
Error in the sense.
Yes, ma'am.
Any deviation from the expected output can also be named as error.
Yes, deviation from the expected output. As we have given the input, means the minus input. What we are getting that is different from the input is our error.
Sir, the automatic vending machines, can that be come and that is grouped under these robots?
Yes, ma'am.
The vending machines, chocolate vending or any vending machines.
If they are taking the feedback, change their output according to that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
The classification of robots that we have seen in the stationary robots. So based on the configuration, we can classify the robots. That is on the basis of coordinate system, like Cartesian coordinates. Cartesian, in which we say the linear movement along the three different axes. As we can see, the Cartesian robots that can move linearly along the x-axis, z-axis and y-axis. So as in the another image, we can see the y-axis, z-axis up and down, and the x-axis, that is linear movement that moves along the axis. So these are the linear movements along three different axes. Have either sliding or prismatic joints. The joints we will discuss later. So I am just involving what that sliding or prismatic. Sliding means if we are using the circular part, that is see in the image, we are using the rectangular part, we will call it as prismatic joint. If there is a circular part, we will call it as sliding joint. So if it is if all the slidings, then we will call it as SSS coordinates. Otherwise, if it is prismatic, that is rectangular part for movement, for linear movement, we will call it as prismatic joint. PPP, prismatic. That means X movement on X is prismatic, movement on Y is prismatic, and on the Z axis it is also prismatic. These are rigid and accurate. Rigid because they have fixed space, so they are rigid. Accurate because they have large working area, large work envelope that is rectangular in nature, so they are very accurate. They are basically suitable for pick and place type of operation. For example, IBM's RS-1, Sigma robot. These are Cartesian robot. Second is cylindrical robot. Cylindrical, we have 2 linear and 1 rotary movement. We have seen 2 images. This is 1 linear, which is sliding, as the movement part is circular, so we can say sliding, and the another is linear, which move along the axis, and also a circular part. So we will get 2 sliding, 2 linear, and 1 is rotary that moves around the axis. So we will call it as. So this joint we will discuss later. So that's why there is TPP, TSS. So T is different type of joints. P is your prismatic. S is your sliding. So this is the represented as the joints we are using. So it is used to handle parts or objects in manufacturing. Basically, these are also used to handle parts or object in different manufacturing and can be used in pick and place also, assembly purpose. Their reach cannot be lying on the floor. Means their reach cannot they cannot pick the objects that are lying on the floor, as there is not flexibility on the on their arms. So they cannot move up and down so that they can reach to object to the floor. So they don't have that reach, that object lie on the floor. So their dynamic performance is poor. Example is Western 60. Yes, ma'am.
What is T, sir?
Yes, ma'am. T is another type of joint which comes under the rotary joint.
So what is prismatic?
Yes, ma'am.
What is prismatic?
Ma'am, prismatic joint is basically the rectangular part, that rectangular part of joints we have used for linear movement.
Linear movement
Yes,
linear movement can be x-axis, y-axis, or z-axis, up and down,
as we
right,
have seen
left.
the Cartesian coordinate, we have seen that the linear movement is through the prismatic joint, that is rectangular part. That's why it is called as prismatic. If it is a circular part, it will be called as sliding joint.
Okay, what is the meaning of Cartesian here, sir?
Cartesian means, ma'am, x, y, z coordinates.
Okay.
Means we are Cartesian means we have 3 axes of surface, and in which we move the robot in linear movement.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Is there any doubts regarding the Cartesian or cylindrical robot?
No, sir. No, sir. Thank
No,
you.
sir.
Let's continue. And the next one is spherical coordinates. As I have told earlier, the spherical coordinate will have 1 linear and 2 rotary movement. 2 rotary movement, so there will be represented with the 2 rotary and 1 linear movement that is suitable for handling parts, object in manufacturing, and the 2 rotary is for, like we have disadvantage in cylindrical robots. Like we have disadvantage in cylindrical robot that cannot pick the part from the ground that is on the floor. So we can we can reduce that disadvantage in spherical, and using the 2 rotary movement, in which we can see the robotic arm that extend its arm along the linear axis, that is Z axis, that can extend its arm, and that arm can be rotate up and down and left and right. So it will be called as a spherical robot or polar coordinate robot, in which one linear, that is to extend the robotic arm, to rotary, that is up and down and left and right to that robotic arm, so that we will have the maximum reach and can pick the part from the floor to decrease the disadvantage of cylindrical coordinates. So it can pick up the object lying on floor. It also has poor dynamic performance compared to the Cartesian, as the Cartesian have larger work envelope. Its example is Unimate 2000B. Is there any doubts?
So what is the full form of TRP and TRS, please?
Yes, ma'am. P, in which P and S is for the prismatic and sliding, R is for the rotary, and T is for the transverse. T is for the transverse, R is for the rotary.
Transverse movement is?
मैम ट्रांसवर्स जैसे कि मैंने आपको पहले दिखाया था डिग्री ऑफ फ्रीडम में, ट्रांसवर्स गिव द डिग्री ऑफ फ्रीडम टू मूव लेफ्ट एंड राइट और up and down. This is a kind of rotary movement.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Next is revolute coordinate, or we can say the articulated robot or the Puma robot. That they have a degree of freedom in up and down only. So the rotary movement about 3 independent axes. So it will be called as transverse, rotary, and rotary. So it will call it as TRR. Suitable for handling parts, components in manufacturing assembly, and it is also used in assembly program in an assembly application. Like we can see the three independent links that gives the 3 independent movement. It has the rigidity and accuracy which may not be good enough for few purposes, but it is mostly used in the assembly. And its examples are T3 and Puma. T3 is the Tomorrow tool, and Puma is basically the full form used for assembly. The full form of Puma is Programmable Universal Machine for Assembly. Is there any doubts?
So can you please repeat it in brief?
Puma and T3, you can just tell the expanded form of Puma and T3. Yeah, expanded.
Sir,
Expansion.
Programmable Universal Machine.
Achha, Programmable Universal Machine Assembly. This is an articulated robot that uses the joints, that is TRR, transverse, rotary. It is basically used for used with the fixed base and to get the maximum reach for the assembly application. Assembly means like we need. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Are you asking something? Hello.
Sir, continue, sir. That's some disturbance.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, so Puma is basically Programmable Universal Machine Assembly. This is mostly used for the assembly purpose, and they have used the joints, that is TRR, transverse, rotary, and these are rigid as their base is permanent, and their accuracy may not be good enough for other application, but it is good for the assembly. So this is about the revolute coordinate and articulated coordinate robot. Next we have, yes, ma'am.
Sir, also repeat the full form of T3.
T3 is Tomorrow tool.
Okay,
The Tomorrow tool. The name on the future. The Tomorrow tool. The upcoming tool.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And now the classification of robots based on the mobility. Robots with fixed base, that means the stationary robots, also known as manipulators. Manipulators can be serial or parallel. In serial, we can say the Puma, CRS, and in parallel, we can say the Stewart platform. So in parallel, we have multi-legged robot which are connected on a single plate. So they will act according to the task. So these are the parallel and serials. In serial, we have only one leg. And if we talk about the mobile robots means that are movable, that can be moved using the wheel, can be as a tracked robot or can be as a multi-legged robot. So we can classify the robots in these kinds. Like if we are using the wheel, it will be called as the wheeled robot. If they are tracked using the tracks, using the predefined paths, so it will be called as tracked robot. And in multi-legged robot, we are providing the multi-legs so that it can move according to the surface, as the wheel robot can move on flat surface, while the legged robot can also move on the non-uniform surface or can be on the rocky surface. And if we talk about the
difference?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the difference between serial and parallel manipulators?
Yes, ma'am. Serial manipulator, in which we have the single arm, individual arms. In parallel, we have different kind of arms which are connected to accomplish a task. Like in see on the right, it is a parallel manipulator, parallel robot, and in serial we have seen image in the degree of freedom, that is a serial or single robotic arm. Basically,
so that in a serial we have only one arm. In serial we have only one arm.
Yes,
we can say
only one arm that are connected serially, means different arms are connected serially with the joints in a single, in a continuation.
Okay, that means it's a one arm, and in a parallel multiple arms are there.
Yes, multiples arms can be used to give the extension to robot.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Next is workspace or the work envelope on the manipulator. It is the volume of space. So we can classify the robots on the basis of its the reachable, on the basis of its working area. If we talk about the robotic arm, we have to identify the robotic arm according to their work, so that we can use according to our requirements. For example, if we require the rotary movement, we have to involve that manipulator that can access that work area. And if we require for the rectangular workspace, for the circular workspace, we have to go through the different of manipulators as we have discussed. So the Cartesian coordinate will give the workspace of rectangular, cylindrical, with two linear, cylindrical, two linear means two axes can move in linear direction and one in rotary. While in spherical we have two rotary and one linear. So they will decide the work area of the manipulator. So it is the volume of space that the end effector of a manipulator can reach, or the locus of the point in the three-dimensional space that can be reached by the wrist by various combination of the movements of the robotic arm. From base to wrist is the gross work envelope of a robot. So workspace can be further divided into dexterous and reachable. And if we talk about the dexterous, it is the volume of space which the robot's end effector can reach with various orientation. And reachable workspace is by it is the volume of space that the end effector can reach with only one orientation. Means we are using the one orientation. It is a reachable workspace, and we are using all the possible combination orientation. We can say it is a dexterous workspace. That means reachable is the minimum workspace, dexterous is the maximum workspace. and dexterous workspace is a subset of reachable workspace. Is there any doubts in workspace? Now we will see the workspace of Cartesian. As we have seen, the Cartesian moves in linear direction, so it will provide the rectangular workspace. So if we see from the elevation view, it will be see like that, and if we and it is a plane view, that is horizontal stroke and transverse stroke. This is a vertical and a horizontal stroke. So this is the work area. We can classify the Cartesian workspace in the rectangular. Likewise, in cylindrical, we have two linear and one rotary. So it will be see like the cylinder. So this is the workspace of cylindrical coordinate robot. Likewise, in spherical, it will be like the sphere. This is the minimum point, this is the maximum point. So it will be the reachable, and this will be the dexterous workspace. So this is the workspace of spherical coordinate robot. And if we talk about the revolute coordinate robot will be seem like the spherical robot, but it have some restrictions if we talk about the spherical and revolute. So they have different workspace, but it will look similar if we see from the top. Now the resolution, accuracy and repeatability. Basically, resolution is the smallest allowable position increment of a robot. Means for providing the accuracy, we give some resolution to the program, predefined resolution, that is smallest allowable position increment for a robot, so that it can resolve the error. So resolution can be programming resolution or can be control resolution. Programming resolution is smallest allowable position increment in robot program, that is BRU, basic resolution unit, that is 0.01 inch per 0.1 degree. Means we are giving it the relaxation on 0.1 degree, that 0.01 inch. So it will be allow the arm to act like if we say that our bike will move at maximum 80 km per hour. So we will say plus minus 10% is will be there. So this is the resolution we are giving to the machine, so that we can get the accuracy and in the repeatability. And control resolution.
Sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, sorry to disturb you. So when we are going to get a break, it's 3:32.
Yes, ma'am. After this, we will get the break. After this slide.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So smallest allowable position that is in the program, that is will be the programming resolution, and control resolution will be the smallest change in position that the feedback device can measure, say 0.36 degree per pulse. Means अगर हम सिग्नल के अकॉर्डिंग बात करें तो पॉइंट जैसे मान ली फॉर एग्जांपल वी आर गिविंग द पल्सेस so that it can act according to that. So it is moving the arm in a rotation with a degree or with a theta. So we are allowing it 0.36 degree per pulse. So it is a resolution to the robotic arm so that we can get the accuracy. So let's keep it till here. Is there any doubts?
No, sir.
No,
Sir.
sir. Okay. No, sir. It's clear, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.